So good morning, Ji.
Yes, welcome students. Today we are going to start a new chapter that is on torsion of circular shafts. So these will be the contents of the chapter introduction. We will be deriving a torsion equation. This torsion equation for the solid and as well as for the hollow shafts. And we will try to understand what is the concept of torsional rigidity and also the application of the torsion equation for combination in bending and torsion. And the last aspect is the helical springs, which will be presented in a separate lecture. So, first of all, what is torsion? So, you see, so torsion, when we, it's a picture of a screwdriver, you can see. So, when we hold it and screw it, that means we apply a torque T. So this screws goes, inside the ball or inside the wheel. So this is a phenomenon of the torsion. So it refers to the twisting of a straight bar when it is loaded by moments or torques, and it tends to produce the rotation about the longitudinal axis of bar. So here you see this is a longitudinal axis. So when we apply the torque, okay, so it gives the rotation. So other examples of the bar in torsion are the drive shaft of the automobiles. So you know that there is a engine in the front and the wheels are there at the back side, and from engine to the wheel we are transferring the power through the torsion shaft. Okay, so uh, the case will be the of automobile axis, propeller shafts in the case of the engines. It can be steering rods, drilling bits, etc. So, in a nutshell, we can say the shafts are the machine elements which are used to transmit the power in the machine. Okay, so shaft, I think everybody is aware of, as we basically use for transmitting the power either through the means of belt and pulley or gears. We mount some element on the shaft and we transfer the power. Now you see this picture will make you the concept more clear. That is, we have taken a circular bar which is subjected to the torsion by the torque T1 and T2. So it is T1, it is T2. So it is axial torque and it is a rotational torque we have given in the opposite direction. So you see, if we are applying a moment, so it will be P2 into D. So torque T1 will be T1 into D, because there is a difference between distance between the two line of action of force, and here it will be T2 P2 into D. So the moments that produce the twisting of a bar, such as the moment T1 and T2 in the figure, are called torques or the twisting moments. The cylindrical members which are subjected to the torque and transmit the power by rotations are called shaft. Okay. So for instance, the drive shaft of automobile or the propeller shaft of a ship, and most shaft may have a circular cross section. It may be solid or it may be a tubular. So we will see later on that hollow shafts are more economical to transmit the power. Then what is the twisting moment? The twisting moment for any X section along the bar or the shaft is defined as the algebraic sum of the moments of the applied couples that lie to one side of the section under consideration. Okay. So now, in order to drive the torsion equation, let us try to understand this. This is a shaft and it is a prismatic bar, and it is having a cross section which is twisted by T. So you see this element, this point Q is there. So when you apply the torque, this element at a distance x, it undergoes a angular deformation, that is phi. So this point Q shifts to the Q dash, and the radius of this shaft or this circular element is given as R. So since every cross section of the bar is identical, because we assume that it is a prismatic bar, so every cross section is same. And since every cross section is subjected to the same internal torque T, we can say that bar is in pure tension. So that means other than tension, there is no deformation. Okay, so it is under pure torsion. So the effects of torsion load applied to bar are to impart the angular displacement, that is this phi or theta somewhere, with respect to other end, and to set up the shear stress in any cross section of the bar which is perpendicular to this axis. So the shear stress will be set up in this circular cross section which is perpendicular to the bar axis. Now you can see here pictorially how things change, you see this is a cantilever beam or a bar which is fixed at the one end. So when we apply the torque, this point A, the point B remains at the same place, and point A shifts to A dash, producing an angular deformation phi. Okay. So this way, if you see the stress element, how they get distortion. Okay. Now, referring to this figure, we have taken a applied torque. So this is applied torque on this side, and this is applied torque on this side. So we have taken a stress element. So the resisting torque will be there at this end, which will be in the opposite direction of the applied torque. Okay, and this resisting torque will depend upon the material of the shaft or the material of this member you are going to consider. So refer to a figure where a uniform circular shaft is subjected to a torque, and every section of the shaft is subjected to the state of the pure shear. The moment of resistance developed by the shear stress being everywhere, it is equal to the magnitude and opposite instance to the applied torque. Okay, so the amount of the torque which we have applied over here, the similar amount will be, sustained by the shaft for as a resistance torque. If it is less, then the failure will be there. So for the purpose of deriving the torsion equation, we have to make certain assumptions. So let us see one by one what are those assumptions. So assumptions are the material is homogeneous. Homogeneous means it is having the same composition mix on each and every plane. They are isotropic. Isotropic means their properties are same at each and every plane, and of uniform elastic property throughout the material. So that means it is perfectly homogeneous, isotropic, and having the uniform elastic property throughout the material. Second is the material is elastic, and it follows the Hooke's law with the shear stress which is proportional to shear strain. So in the case of the Hooke's law, we take this as shear stress, which is tau, equal to the shear strain. In the case of the uniaxial tension, we take the the normal stress is equal to E times the normal strain, or normal stress is proportional to the normal strain. So the shear stress does not exceed the elastic limit for that particular material. The circular section remains after torsion. So that means we have seen this. So this section, or this circular section, or if you see the previous figure, so this section does not distort. Okay, it remains circular. Then parallel planes normal to the axis do not wrap or distort after torsion, and the cross section remains plane. So it is the same thing which I have just explained. The cross section at rotates as if rigid. That is, every diameter rotates through the same angle. Okay. So these are the assumptions, important assumptions we see. So now important thing is the angle of twist. So angle of twist, we have seen this as a shaft, same figure I have taken. So this is a point A, and this has undergone the, this point B, projection of point B. So it is undergone a angular displacement, this is theta. R is the radius of this shaft. L is the length, and this is the amount of the shear strain which is produced. Okay. So consider a solid circular shaft at radius r, which is subjected to T at one end and another being fixed. So under the action of this torque, a radial line at the free end of the shaft twists through an angle theta. So you see this angle theta. And the point A moves to B, and AB subtends at an angle, the gamma, at the fixed end. This then is known as the angle of distortion of the shaft. That is the shear strain. So angle in radian will be arc upon radius. So arc AB, this arc AB will be equal to R is the radius. So into theta. Theta is the angle. So this should be equal to L into Y, because this angle is there. So it will be L into Y, okay, or L into gamma, okay. So from this relation, we get gamma is equal to R theta upon L, okay. Now we know that by the definition of modulus of rigidity, or by Hooke's law, that shear stress is proportional to shear strain, and their ratio is represented by a term which is known as G, and this is known as the modulus of rigidity. So you see, this shear stress, this is tau or this is tau. So both are same. So that means the shear strain, that is gamma, is equal to shear stress upon G. Or if you bring this in the denominator, so that means the G is equal to tau upon the shear strain. Okay. So we can equate this because both are the shear strain here. One relation is this R theta upon L, and another relation is tau upon G. So if you compare both of them, so tau upon R, so you bring this R on this side, so tau upon R is G theta upon L. And why I have given this tau dash upon R, that means tau dash is the shear stress at any radius. At any radius means here it is R, here it is capital R, in between there will be some other distance from the center. So that's why it varies. Okay. So it is proportional. So tau dash upon R. Now what are the shear stresses that we will try to find out? So shear stresses, let us take the cross section of the shaft at any distance R, and this ring we take of the thickness dr, and R is the radius of the shaft which is given. So this is the cross section of the shaft. So we have taken a small element at a distance R and of width dr. So now this forces which will be set up on this element will be the stress into area. This we know. So stress is tau dash, and area of this ring will be 2 pi r into dr. Okay, because if you take this ring, so it will be 2 pi r into dr. This force will produce a moment about the center axis of the shaft. So this is the force, and what is the distance? Distance is r. So about the center, the moment will be. So if you solve this, 2 pi tau dash r square into dr. Okay. So the total torque on the section, we can integrate this from 0 to r, because r is the outermost radius. Then the sum of all such contribution will be equal to, we have integrated 0 to r, that is 2 pi, this relation, tau dash r square dr. So from here, you will get tau dash, this is from the previous, this thing we have got, this thing. So tau dash is equal to g theta upon r upon l. Okay. So shear stress will vary with the radius. You see, the shear stress is directly proportional to the radius, and therefore replaced by r before integral is evaluated. Okay. So it is replaced. So that means at the outermost end it will be 2 pi r. So instead of r we have written this tau dash and r square. So integral this 2 pi r cube and g theta upon L. So this is called the polar second moment of area, that is J. So in the bending we have used the word I, here we use the polar moment of area, that is J. So that means that T is equal to g theta upon L, and we have replaced this term by J. So we got T by J, if we put J on this side, g theta upon L. So if we combine this value and the value in the previous relation, that is this, okay, tau upon R, this tau upon G and tau upon R, okay. So this is also g theta by L. So if you compare this, so you will get this relation, tau upon J is equal to T upon J is equal to tau upon R is equal to g theta upon L. So this is a very important equation, which is known as the torsion equation, and it is used to find the shear stress, angle of twist or angle of twist in the circular and the non-circular also. For non-circular, we go for some modification that of course is not a part of this lecture. But for the non-uniform beams or non-uniform shafts, we will consider few cases. So here in this equation, T is the applied torque. So you know that the unit will be in Newton meter. J is the polar moment of inertia. So unit will be in meter 4 or millimeter 4. Tau is the shear stress at the outermost end, that is at R. So this will be in Pascal. G is the modulus of rigidity. So this will be also in the Pascal. L is the length of shaft. It will be in meters. And theta is the angle of twist. So these are the important elements of the torsion equation. Okay. Now, we know from this previous article that polar moment of the area J is equal to 0 to R 2 pi R cube into dr. So for a solid shaft, we know that J will be equal to 2 pi R4 upon 4 0 to R, because if we integrate this, this will be R4 upon 4, and if you put the limit, so you will get this. So it will be 2 say 2 यहाँ cancel हो जाएगा 2 to the 4, and it will be 2 pi R4, okay, divided by 4. So it will be 2 pi R4 upon 4. So if we put R is equal to D by 2 here, so it will be pi D4 upon 32. Okay. Whereas for solid shaft, the value of I, that is moment of inertia, was pi d4 upon 64. Okay. So that means the J is I by 2. Okay. Or 2I. So this is J is equal to pi d4 upon 32. So this is very important. So you have to remember this. Now we will also solve the how to solve the hollow shaft. So for hollow shaft, which is of the internal radius r and the external radius capital R. So if you solve this, so in that case the limit will be from r to capital R. So if you solve this integral, so it will be r4 by 4, and if you put the limit, it will be this. So pi d, if you put capital R is equal to d by 2 and small r is equal to small d by 2. So you will get this as the polar moment of inertia for the hollow shaft. So I think these things are clear to you. And if you put in this equation the value of J for the hollow shaft, So this will be the equation which will be valid for the hollow shaft. Okay, we can derive it also. Now, how the shear stress and the shear strain varies in the shaft. So shear stress which are developed in the shaft subjected to pure torsion are indicated in this figure. So you see at the center it is 0 and at the end it is maximum, tau max. Okay, so it will be in the both. So this direction will be the shear stress will be developed, and this direction the complementary shear stress of the longitudinal shear stress will be developed. Okay, so we know by definition that shear stress is equal to G into shear strain, and we know by the formula, torsion formula, that T or the shear stress tau is directly proportional to the S. Okay, so we can put this value in this relation. So G theta upon L into R is equal to G into gamma. The maximum shear stress in the shaft we can calculate also by using the other part of equation, that is T by J is equal to tau by R. So shear stress is equal to tau into R upon J. So if you put R is equal to D by 2 and you put the value of J accordingly, so you will get. So with R, outside radius of shaft, so tau max will be equal to T into R upon J, or tau max is equal to T by J, T by Z, where Z is the polar section modulus. So this we will discuss in the next slide. So we can calculate this Z, you see here, Z is equal to J by R. So if you bring this R in the denominator and you write here J by R, so this J by R will give you the Z. So this will be reduced to tau max is equal to T upon Z. So Z is equal to, you can put the value of J and you can find out this. Okay, you can put R is equal to D by 2 and Z is equal to pi d4 upon 32. So this will be the value for the, solid shaft. Similarly for the hollow shaft, you put here R is equal to capital R, it is D by 2, and J, you know this value is there. So you can get the value of the polar modulus for the hollow shaft. Now what is the torsional rigidity? So it is an important parameter. It is defined as the angle of twist per unit length of the shaft, and it is by the formula we can find out theta upon L is equal to T by J, Gj. Okay, so if you see the formula, it is there. So tau by J is equal to G theta upon L. So we have used this part of the equation and we have come out. Now this Gj is known as a torsional rigidity. Like the flexural rigidity is E into I. So because of flexure, we take the modulus as E, and because of the inertia, we take the moment of inertia I. So a product of term E into I is a flexural rigidity, whereas a product of G into J is known as a torsional rigidity. Okay, so the quantity Gj is termed as the torsional rigidity of the shaft, and if you take this value, so if we take a shaft, torsional rigidity is the torque divided by angle of twist in radian per unit length. So if we take a shaft of unit length and having a unit angle of twist, so it is equal to the torque, maximum torque, okay, so which it can transmit. So this way we can define and we can understand what is torsion rigidity. Now, torsion of the hollow shaft. So we take the derivation of the hollow shaft now. The maximum shear stress in the solid shaft is developed in the outer surface. Values at the other radii decreases linearly to 0 at the center. So this we have seen. If we go to this, so you see here, it is 0 here and it is maximum here. So that means it varies linearly. And you can see from here also, T is directly proportional to the radius. Second is, it is clear therefore that if there is to be some limit set on the maximum allowable working stress, because material is fixed for the shaft. So that means the working stress is fixed. Then only the outer surface of the shaft will reach this limit. Okay. The metal within the shaft will work at a lower stress and particularly near center. So at center, the stresses are not much. So that means the material is more safe and will not contribute much to the torque carrying capacity of the shaft. So that means much of the torque will be carried by the shaft will be on the outermost layer and the layers which are away or at a distance from the center. In applications where the weight reduction is of the prime importance, as in the aerospace industry, for instance, it is often found advisable to use the hollow shaft. So you see for the aerospace industry, when the aircraft is flying in the air, so we want to keep it as light as possible. So if the shaft, but we have to transmit more power. So there will be two things. Either we use the material which is of very high strength to weight ratio. That means the weight is less and the strength is very high. Or to reduce the weight, what we can use, we can go for the hollow shaft. Okay. So that's why we prefer a hollow shaft as compared to a solid shaft. So this we'll see in the next slide also. So the relevant formulae for the hollow shaft will be used for calculating these stresses. So the increased torque to weight ratio possible with the hollow shaft. So that means we can transmit more torque with the less or lighter shaft. It should be noted that the hollow shaft with an inside diameter half the outside diameter, that is the maximum stress is increased by 6% over that of solid shaft. That means if we use a hollow shaft, the strength which is increased, it is by approximation 6% of the same outside diameter, and the weight will be reduced by 25%. So that means if we use the hollow shaft, we increase the strength and we reduce the weight. So now you see the general torsion equation which we have applied in the case of the solid shaft. This will hold good for the hollow shaft also. Only thing is we will put here instead of J, we will put here pi by 32 DO and DI. DO is the outer diameter, DI is the inner diameter. Okay. So let DI is DO by 2. Okay. So this will be the maximum torque for the solid shaft and this will be the maximum torque for the hollow shaft. Okay. So if you put the value. So now you can do this adjustment, that 1 minus d1 upon d0 to the power 4 if you bring this downward. So it will be the case, and this will give you 1.006. So that means the tau max in the case is, you see, 6.6% larger than in the case of the solid shaft in the same outside diameter. So this I have told in the earlier also, it is approximately 6%. So जगमीन मैं क्लास से होने कराऊंगा. So you see this is a distribution of stress. So this is in the case of the hollow shaft, solid shaft. So solid shaft, you see the shear stress is minimum here and it goes on increasing and it is maximum at the outer surface. So tau max. While in the case of the hollow shaft, so it is having some value here because it is 0 here. And so that what we have done, because the stress here is less, but if we are using the same material, so we are wasting. So what we do, we take out this material and we make the shaft hollow. And when we make it hollow, so it becomes lighter. At the same time, it carries more weight because the average shear stress of this will be much higher than this. Okay, so this is a case. Now, this is how you can calculate the reduction in weight. So weight of the hollow shaft will be equal to, they will be, because let us consider the solid and hollow shaft the same length and the density. They are made up of the same material. So di is equal to d0 by 2. So weight of the shaft will be in the proportion of the area because length is same. So you can find out the density is equal to mass per unit volume. So you can find out the weight by this formula. It is pi d 4 upon 4 minus pi d 4 upon 16 and L into P. Okay. And this is rho is the density. Okay. So you take this as common and you will find that you can write it like this. Okay. So this will be whole square. So this will be 1 minus 4. So it will give you 0.75. So it is like this. So weight of the solid shaft is this. So if you decide the reduction, so it gives a 25% reduction in the weight. So that means that this center portion, which is carrying a very small stress or almost zero at the center, so we can take out this material and we can make the shaft hollow and at the same time more economical, and we can transmit more torque, and the shaft will be economical and it will be less costly. Now, till now we have understood the shaft can be of the uniform cross section. That means either a hollow shaft or a solid shaft, but their cross section is same throughout the length. At the same time, we can have a different shaft also, which is known as a composite shaft. So a composite shaft, first of all, if two or more shafts of different material and the diameter or the basic form are connected together in such a way that each carries the same torque, then the shafts are to be connected in series. So we have the two combination. One is in series and another is in parallel. So this is a series combination. So we have the two shafts. Each is having the different diameter and they are made up of the different material. Okay. But thing is that they are subjected to the same torque. Okay. So if the two or more shafts of the different material or diameter are connected together in such a way that they carry the same torque, then the shafts are said to be connected in series, and the composite shaft so produced is therefore termed as a series shafts in series. Okay. So if two shafts are series of the different material, that means that for first shaft will be modulus of rigidity will be G1, for second it will be J1, angle of twist is producing theta1 and length is L1. And for the second shaft it is different. So in such case, the composite shaft strength is treated by considering the each component shaft separately, applying the torsion theory to the each in turn. The composite shaft will therefore be as weak as weakest component. Okay. So if relative dimension of the various parts are required, then a solution is usually affected by equating these equations. Okay. So if the shafts are in parallel, so that means we have fixed both the shafts. But in this case, you see their angle of twist will be same. In this case, the angle of twist that is calculated from the torsion formula, and that will be T1 into L1 upon G1 into J1. This will be equal to theta1. This should be equal to theta2, that is T2 into L2 upon G2 into J2. And for parallel combination, we will have the total torque will be equal to the torque shared by sum of the torque shared by each shaft. So it is T1 plus T2. So you see, we can also have this ratio uh, from here, the T1 upon T2, and we can bring it here. And for maximum stress developed will be found by this equation. Okay, this is nothing but we have used the same torsion equation for each of the shaft. So now, as we have discussed, that shafts are used basically to transmit the power. Okay, so this is a motor is there, and from motor a shaft is there. Okay, so this shaft is connected through the fleet coupling to the prime mover. Okay, so this is carrying a torque T, and it is rotating at a angular speed omega, which can be either in RPM or we can measure in radian per second. So a shaft may transfer power at more than one section to the different machine. Also, the shaft may be subjected to different torques at the different section. So this we have seen. We will also see in one of the numerical which we will be solving now. In such cases, the principle of conservation of energy can be applied. Usually, the shafts are designed on the basis of the limiting value of the stresses and the angular deformation. Okay, so we will use a shaft which will be of the strongest material and which can take the maximum angular deformation. That means it is not fade even at the large angular deformation. Okay, so this we can so these are the two criteria on which basis the shaft is designed. So if the torque carries a shaft carries a torque T Newton meter, so torque will be Newton meter, and it rotates at a omega angular speed which is in radian per second. So it will do work at a rate of T. If a shaft carries a torque T, then rotates this, and work will be done will be equal to T into omega. Okay, so much Newton per meter per second. So thus the power transmitted is T into omega watts. Okay, so this is Newton per meter second is watts. So this omega, if it is given in RPM, so you can use the formula omega is equal to 2 pi n upon 60, where n is the speed given in RPM. So there you can calculate this. Okay, so it is both way you can calculate. While calculating, you have to be very careful. Okay. Now, what is the strain energy in the torsion? The total strain energy, you see, it is the torque produced is proportional to the angular deformation or angular twist. So initially angle of twist is 0. As we increase the torque, angle of twist goes on increasing. So area under this curve is given used for calculating the strain energy. So total strain energy of a shaft under the action of a torque is the work done in twisting. So therefore, a gradually applied torque to a shaft is U is equal to half, because what will be the area of this triangle? Half base into height, so that is half T into theta. So we can make use of the torsion equation, that is T by J is equal to tau by R is equal to G theta upon L. So for a solid shaft, we can use first part of equation, that is T is equal to J. What is the value of J? That is pi d 4 upon 32, and tau, and instead in R we can put the value d by 2. So we can solve this. So it will be tau pi d cube upon 60, and theta will be from this part of equation. So theta will be tau into L upon G into R. So we can find out this theta. So we use these two criteria for designing a shaft. Okay. So the strain energy will be equal to half T into theta. So we have calculated T here, that is torque. We have calculated theta here. So it is half pi d cube. So we have put all these values. So we will get this, and this will be tau square upon 4g into volume. Okay, so strain energy per volume, per unit volume is also known as the resilience. So it is tau square upon 4g. Okay, and the maximum strain energy per unit volume is known as the proof resilience. Okay, so if we put the value of T and this tau is equal to tau max, so that will give us the proof resilience. So this is the mean, strain energy of the whole shaft. In the shaft, the shear stress varies from 0 at the axis to the maximum value at the outer surface with the mean intensity. So strain energy will be total strain energy 0 plus U max divided by 2 into volume. Okay, so this we can calculate. So maximum strain energy is tau max upon 2g. So for the hollow shaft, it is half T theta. So you can put this value of J accordingly, and you will get this as a strain energy for the hollow shaft. So now we have seen that a shaft is used to transmit the power. But how we transmit the power? We use certain mechanical elements. That may be a gear, that may be a sprocket, that may be a pulley, belt pulley, which is mounted on the shaft. So that means we are adding some weight to the shaft. So when we are adding some weight to the shaft, so in addition to the shear stresses which are developed because of the pure torque which is transmitted by the shaft will be undergoing some bending also. Okay, because of the weight of the gear, weight of the shaft, weight of the sprocket, or weight of coupling, etc., which are mounted on the shaft. Okay, so that means if we consider a stress element on the shaft, it will be having the bending stresses, that is in the form of the sigma b, and the shear stresses that are tau. So shear stresses are because of the torsion, and the bending stresses are because of the bending which is developed because of the elements which we are going to mount on the shaft. So this is what I have written here. In most practical transmission situations, the shaft which varies torque are also subject to bending. So if only by virtue of the self weight of gears they carry. Okay. So the self weight will be there, and the gears which are mounted on the shaft. Now many other practical application occurs where bending and torsion arise simultaneously. So this type of loading represents one of the major source of the complex stress situation. So in the case of the shafts, bending gives rise to the tensile stress on the outer surface and compressive stress on the opposite surface. Okay, so one side there will be tension and another side there will be compression, because when the shaft is bended, so you see it will go under curvature, and we know from the formula of bending, so one side the tension is produced, another side the compression is produced. Okay, so we have to, in that case, we have to calculate the total stress. So Mohr circle, either the Mohr circle can be used, or we can use the formula and we can find out what is the equivalent torque, okay, which the shaft will carry. So we have a concept of equivalent bending moment and equivalent torque. Okay, so combined bending and torsion. So when there is a combination of bending and torsion, so we have a concept of equivalent bending moment. So for a shaft which is subjected to the simultaneous application of bending moment M and the torque T, the principal stresses set up in the shaft can be shown to be equal to those produced by equivalent bending moment. Okay, of a certain value which is known as M equivalent, that is the equivalent bending moment. So this we'll try to find out. So from the simple theory of bending, the maximum direct stress set up at the outside surface of the shaft, while the bending moments are given by this. So this will be the maximum bending moment, maximum bending stress in the shaft, that is sigma upon y, m upon I. So y is maximum at the outer surface. So if you solve this, y max will be distance from the center. So that is dy. So this will be the bending stress. And from the torsion theory, you see, this is the shear stress. So this you can calculate. So shear stress will be equal to circular shaft. So this will be equal to tau is equal to TD upon 4 into L. Okay. So that means the sigma 1, sigma 2 will be equal to, we can find out the equivalent combined stress by using the formula of the principal stress. So this is the formula we know. So if we put the value over here, so one as the bending stress, another as the shear stress, okay, so you will get this value. So this is the, this one, it is the equivalent bending moment. So sigma 1 is equal to, we can write ME upon I by max. So ME upon I by max is equal to 2 upon D. So we can find out this when we equate this. So ME is equal to half M plus M plus tau square. So if bending is produced because of bending moment, and torque shear stress is produced because of the torque. Okay. So this is how we can calculate the equivalent bending. Now, combine bending and torsion. Second concept, we use the equivalent torque. The shaft subject to the simultaneous application of bending moment M and torque T, the maximum stress set up in the shaft may be determined by the application of the equivalent torque, which is TE. So if you see here, the principal stress set here we have taken, and the maximum direct stress. Okay, so here we have taken the concept of equivalent bending moment, and here we have taken the concept of equivalent torque. Okay, so sigma 1 will be equal to this, and sigma 2 will be equal to this. Okay, this is clear because it is, we put in the value of the principal stress, we put in the value of the principal. So what will be the maximum shear stress? You know that tau max is equal to half sigma 1 minus sigma 2. So when you calculate this, it will come this. Okay, so we know that by formula, the tau max is equal to tau equivalent D upon J. Just now we have calculated. So if you compare this here, so tau equivalent is equal to under root m square upon t square. So this will be the equivalent torque which will be produced, and this will be the equivalent bending moment which the shaft will carry. Okay. So I think it is clear to you. The concept clear hua beta?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now similarly we can calculate the strain energy. So while calculating the strain energy, so U is equal to 1 upon 2 EI sigma square 1 square plus sigma 2 square minus 2 nu or 2 mu. This is a Poisson ratio. Okay. So sigma 1, sigma 2. Okay. So now you can calculate, you can put the value of sigma 1, sigma 2, and you can get this relation. If you solve it, so it will come, the small expression will be reducing to this. Okay. So you can further solve it or you can use it directly. Okay. So this is all about the torsion as far as the theory is concerned, other than the spring part. The spring chapter I'll be putting in the Monday class, and your major is up to torsion and spring. Okay. So that the 3 chapters which were not covered, so that means just after the first minor. Okay. Now let us try to solve 2-3 numericals so that the things are clear to you. Okay. A hollow steel shaft 3 meter long must transmit a torque of so much 25 kilonewton meter. The total angle of twist in this length is to exceed 2.5 degree. and the allowable shearing stress is 90 megapascal. So determine the inside and outside diameter of the shaft if G is equal to 85 GPa. So this is a case of the hollow shaft. It is given. Okay. So how we'll go about it? So let us say D0 and Di is the outside and inside diameter of the shaft respectively. So angle of theta, angle of twist, that is theta, can be given by this. Okay, where J will be using for the hollow shaft. So theta is expressed in radians. So maximum shear stress occurs at the outer fiber. So theta is equal to T into L upon Gj. So D is equal to 0.145 or 145. Okay. So this we have calculated. Okay. So outside diameter is given, I think here. 3 meter long is this, not to see. So D is calculated. Substituting the value of either equation, then we get D is equal to this. Okay, just a minute. Torque is given here. Torque is given. The length is given. Okay. G is given. So we can calculate the value of J. We can calculate the value of J, and we can other relation to given to us is of 2.5 degree. So we can calculate the value of the maximum shear stress also. That is also given. Okay. So one relation is with the shear stress and the angle of twist, and another relation is with this. Okay. So we can put the value of J, and solving this we can get the value of D as this. Okay. So substituting this value, so we will get the smaller value as 125. Similarly, there is a second numerical you see here. It is important that a shaft is given, and on the shaft you see the number of mechanical elements are given. So either they are pulleys. So let us see what is given. The shaft BC is hollow with the inner and shaft BC. So you see this shaft BC, it is hollow with inner and outer diameter 90 and 120 respectively. So this is hollow. Shaft AB and CD are solid. Okay. So it is a combined shaft, you can see. So other things are given. Center to center distance, that means the length is given. And I think the diameter D is there solid shaft ke liye or hollow shaft ke liye bahar, and this is the outer dia of the hollow shaft. Okay. So these are the torque which are transmitted. These are the torque. These are the torque. So for the loading shown, determine the minimum and the maximum shear stress in the shaft BC. That means in the hollow shaft. Second part, required diameter D of the shaft AB and CD. If allowable shearing stress in these shafts is little. Okay. So this is a very interesting numerical. So we'll just try to see this. So what we'll do, cut section through the shaft AB and BC. AB and BC. Okay. And perform the static equilibrium to find the torque loading. So apply the elastic torsion formula in order to find the minimum and maximum stress on BC, and give the allowable shear stress. So these are the steps given. So let us see here. The cut section through the shaft AB. Shaft AB, we have taken a section. So it is carrying a torque 6 kilonewton. So total sigma will be equal to 6 kilonewton minus torque which is carried by this AB. Okay. So TAB will be equal to, this is 6 kilonewton. Okay. Similarly, here it will be, on the other side it is 14 kilonewton. So 0 is equal to 6 minus 6 we have taken in this direction, and 14 also in the same direction, minus the torque carried by BC is in the opposite direction. So torque BC is this. So you have calculated the torque which is required for shaft AB and shaft BC. Okay. So now you apply the elastic torsion formula. Okay, for the BC, which is the hollow shaft. So this way you calculate the shear stress, and similarly you calculate for the shaft AB. So that we are solid. So you have got the 6 kilonewton and you have got this. So that means the maximum uh, uh, shear stress which is going to develop is this, and minimum shear stress is this here. Okay. So I think I have tried to give you the maximum input